It was really cool to get to talk to Mike, who's with a project called AniMaze X. He has been involved in a really cool project, D Metal Stars, where he was doing heavy metal Disney children's music. So much fun. I love it. It's always really neat to get to talk to people that have experiences in such a different world as being rock stars. It was also really cool to hear him talk about his experiences of the 80s and just how different it was then in that scene. I hope you'll enjoy this conversation. I've talked to so many wonderful people, so I hope you will stick around, subscribe if you haven't already, check out other really fun conversations, and share this with somebody that you think might enjoy it.
So you're in Sweden?
Yes.
Are you what city?
I'm the city is called Visby, but it's on an island called Gotland.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I've been there quite a bit. I've been to Sweden quite a bit, touring and seen a lot of it. It's a beautiful country.
That's cool. You've been all over, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I have.
So I was listening to some AniMaze X music yesterday, and Morton, my husband, was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then he was so surprised when it went into "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch."
The Grinch. Yeah, I know. That's funny.
So much fun.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. Just really having fun, and that's the most important thing.
This project is it licensed with Disney?
We had a thing before this called D Metal Stars, which was we did two records with Disney, and Disney's a difficult company. They're awesome, but they dictate every move you make. So it was really hard for us to, being rock guys, and we tour when we want to tour and we promote what we want to promote. They were controlling everything, and they weren't letting us promote the record properly by touring. We the records, they went through the roof here in the States. We were charting number one in adult, number one in the children's, and it was really crazy. And just not being able to promote it, we were offered tour after tour, and so we decided to break away and do our own thing. And that's where AniMaze X started. We were like, we have to have control of this, and we got tired of people, asking, when are you touring? When are you doing another record? And it's like, I don't know, ask Disney. I can't tell you. So now we're in control, and I just think things will move a lot quicker. So we're real happy about that.
That's neat. Yeah, it's so important to be able to do things and not have your creativity stifled.
Right, exactly. So that's what brought us to AniMaze X.
So what are you working on now?
Well, we released a single, cover of Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles. That's actually doing really well right now, and there's a video that's coming out any day for that, and we're in the process of doing another record. We hope to have it out maybe late June, July, if all goes well. And then everything seems to be opening up here. They're talking about a possible Times Square in New York run this summer, so we would be doing a summer fest of some kind. I'm not sure the exact details, but that's what's next if it all goes well and everything opens up like it's supposed to.
Wow. I was looking at I was reading about you on Wikipedia and looking at some highlights, and I was reading, because I don't know as much about music as my husband does.
Right.
So when I was reading the names of people you've worked with, he was like, "Oh, that guy, the Swedish artist."
Oh, Ingve
Yeah.
Malmsteen. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I sang with him for about 3.5 years. did a few records, some videos, a live record. It was cool. It was a great time.
Just so many different people that you've worked with over the years. Huh? What's been some highlights of your career?
You know, I don't know. There's been so many. I've been really fortunate. I've sang, you know, I was a lead vocalist for a lot of really successful things. Japanese band called Loudness, you know, then the Ingve thing. I think really honestly right now is probably the highlight, being able to do this and you know, do the AniMaze X project. The guys in the group are great. Everybody in this whole thing is really supportive and creative. So I would say right now is probably the highlight. We're really excited about all this, and it's fun. You know, it's super, super fun. And that's, you know, at this point, we just want to have stress-free time, you know, just a good time with everyone and have the crowd be happy and be part of the show. So
When you're just in the zone and you're not thinking, you're just playing.
Right. Not worried about the business side of things, and, you know, just be creative and do what we love. And that's making music and performing. So
I love that feeling of being on stage. I haven't experienced it as a rock star or anything, but as an actor.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Yeah. And there's just something so special about when it's this magic of when you're saying things and, you know, you can feel that they're connecting with people.
Right. Exactly. It's just everything else, all the traveling and all the other stuff's not so much fun, but you know, the show, the amount of time that goes into doing a show for an hour and a half, you know, when you're on the road, it's consuming, it's your life, you know, it's 24 hours a day, and the amount of travel and stuff you need to go through just to be able to be on stage for an hour and a half, but it's worth it. You know, it's seeing the crowds and seeing them, you know, be part of everything is really, it's worth it.
Yeah, that adrenaline from being in front of people, and then the adrenaline drop afterwards, it's real.
Right. Yeah. You know, it's funny when we come off a tour, it takes a couple of weeks. You just feel so strange when you get home, you know, and you're not doing that. It really affects you. It's an odd thing, but, you know, I guess like everything, but you don't know what to do with yourself for a few weeks. So, but that's, you know, that's what we do. It's what we love to do. And it's been rough this past year because it just got, you know, the whole music industry just shut down. But it's definitely opening up here. There's shows popping up. And so we're real happy about that.
That is cool. When I was done with my traveling theater life, I don't miss that. It's so nice to have my own space and have privacy. But I do miss seeing people more. But the feeling of being this special guest and people see you on stage and you're this special person to going to being a normal person again. It's just a really hard switch to make in the brain. Like, it took me a long time because even though this wasn't a big deal thing, we were missionaries with the Christian theater company. It still, for the longest time, felt weird to go to church and to not have people come up to me afterwards and be like, wow, thank you for being here. Oh, it's so great to have you.
Right. Exactly. You know, it's a whole different, you know, it's when you're out there, you're meeting people all the time before the show, after the show, you know, when you pull up to a hotel, whatever. And it's really odd to get home and you're just quiet with your family. It's great, but it takes a while to adjust. So,
oh man, it strikes me as just so funny that you've probably been interviewed in so many fancy capacities in so many countries, and now you're here on my YouTube channel.
This is the way the interviews are now, video chat. You know, it used to be a phone call, or they would set up a couple days at the record company and you'd go in and people would come in and, you know, but now it's video chat and we just deal with it and do it. So here we are.
So what are some memorable fans you've had in different countries?
Always when we go to Japan, the fans are just, they treat you like the Beatles. Yeah, any band that goes there, you're like the Beatles arriving, and they just give you these great, yeah. It's just amazing. They give you gifts, and they'll draw pictures of you that are amazing. I mean, all the world, even in South America and Europe, it's just, there's so many different situations. It's hard to pick one, but really just the fans and how they treat you. Some of them just treat you so good. We're just people. We're not, and for me especially, okay, yeah, this is what I do. That's me on stage and stuff. But when I'm just out in public or with my family, I'm just Mike. I'm just, my kids. I'm dad. I'm not cool, Mike. I'm just, dad. So.
So what do you like to do outside when you're normal dad man? What do you like to do?
I like sports and stuff. My son, he played football for a few years here, and we watch sports. Really, I'm consumed with the music thing. I really don't have much time outside of creating and writing and singing and everything. But when I do, just spending time with the family and probably sports. Today we're gonna go to lunch with my daughter. Just family stuff. So nothing crazy.
I wasn't expecting anything crazy. Sometimes people make such what's the word? They think about this other world of rock stars trashing hotel rooms and all this
right
stuff. They romanticize or demonize, whichever.
Right, exactly. Yes, and it's so far from what people imagine. I mean, in the 80s, when we were all, it was pretty crazy. There was, we were young kids, and it was really bizarre, some of the stuff that went on, and the partying and the touring was just, nonstop. But, you grow up, you get beyond all that stuff, and it's like, we're just normal guys, girls, whatever, and we just do what we do, just like a plumber or a doctor or a mechanic, they're good at what they do.
Do you think you'd ever write a book talking about all of your highlights and ups and downs and all that stuff?
Yeah, I actually did start writing, mostly just situations and things that happened career-wise. And so I have a bunch of stuff together. But that, other things came up, so I stopped doing it. But I have been thinking about putting something out, just the experience of being a singer and people. Some of the situations you find yourself in are unbelievable. So it might have to be a fantasy book, but not really. People probably wouldn't believe some of this stuff, but yeah, so I have thought about it, and I have written a bunch of things, so it's a possibility.
Cool, because I want to read that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I'm having a conversation this Saturday with the guy Eileen's connected me with, who is a reformed gangster, and reading his book is just like, I cannot connect to this at all. Just dealing drugs, huge sums of money, beating people up who crossed him. Like, it's just so outside of my world.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, back in the 80s, I mean, my first band was Obsession. We had to deal with Capitol Records, and we were managed by a huge drug dealer. I mean, he was a manager, but it was just, but that was kind of normal back then. People don't understand. It wasn't like it is now, where we understand how bad it is for you and how illegal or whatever. But at the time, it was just mobsters and drug dealers, and it was just so insane what went on in the 80s. Well, that's interesting. I didn't know Eileen knew a gangster. I'll have to find out about that. That's awesome. I'd like to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, you can check out my channel. It's Epic Kate, and I've talked to
Epic Kate. I will. When is this on? When is it going to be on? Saturday?
Probably like July or August.
Oh, July. Okay. Yeah, I'll keep an eye on that. That'll be great. That'll be awesome.
It's so neat to be able to step into somebody else's shoes and just
Yeah.
try to see things from their perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to understand, people, everybody has a past, it's people did crazy things, and it's just, the time was different. And that was like for us, the 80s, it was a big party. It was acceptable. Everybody did it. So we didn't think of it being bad or against the law or whatever. Now I see it. Now I look back and go, oh my God, what were we doing? But it's just a different perspective, different point in time of the mind, the thinking of people. So
and I grew up in such a bubble. I grew up in Utah, and around in Christmas and Easter Christians until later on. And but it was always like DARE, drug and alcohol education program, and always
right.
When people offer drugs to you, just say no. Nobody ever offered drugs to me until I was 33 and living in Sweden. One of my coworkers kept trying to get me to take some snus. Did you ever try that?
No, I don't even know what that is.
It's this disgusting little packet of tobacco, and people stick it up here, and it just sits there. And then they put it out when they're done, and it's so gross.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. I've seen that. Yeah. So you were in Utah.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, 34 years or 30, whatever it was, 33 years old. I finally was offered drugs. Thank you for DARE helping me out.
Well, Utah's beautiful. I mean, it's very, very, there's not a lot of decadence in Utah. Well, there never was. It was always very, very strict there. So, but beautiful place. Yeah. Beautiful,
Utah's changing. Before it was the real straight-laced Mormons keeping everything out. Now it's a lot more hippies and art and pot and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I mean, everything's changing.
It's everything.
Even here in Nashville, it's just there's so many people coming here now, and it's an explosion of everyone, and it's mind-boggling. And everybody thinks Nashville's a country music thing, and there's more rock metal guys and hip hop guys. It's shocking, all the people here. The music scene is just out of control. But it's changing here too, just I guess that's what happens. So
I don't know if you'd be interested in this. So if it's not, it's a dead end. I can just edit it out because the beauty of editing. But something that I'm interested in is the view of the generations, Boomer, Gen X, Millennial, the view of generations and the impact of rock music on it and on history in general. Right.
Are
you Gen X?
I'm probably Gen X, I think.
What year were you born?
62.
62. So you're kind of like a cusper between, like, you're not a boomer, but you're like kind of between boomer and Gen X.
Exactly. Right. So I'm in between. That's exactly it. So yes, I've seen some things.
Because something that's really I'm passionate about is, like, let's listen to all the stories. Let's not poop on the Generation Z, the Zoomers,
right.
Like everyone else is pooping on the millennials. Like, hello, you can't hate millennials. You raised us. If you have a problem with how we are, turn it back to yourself. But
I mean, you have to be open-minded and try to understand, and it's just like our parents when they hated our music when we were growing up, or, oh my God, and it's like, I'm really open-minded. I try to hear and see whatever's going on, but it's different right now with everything, how quickly things change. At least when we were younger, the music was around for a good stretch. Now the turnaround is so fast. Things are moving so quickly. But there's some stuff I love, some stuff I don't love, musically anyways, but but it's like anything, I guess. As you grow, I just remember my parents going, how can you listen to that stuff? How can you, and I would ask them how they could listen to their stuff, and now I appreciate it. But, a lot of the music they were listening to, I appreciate now. So,
I worked
Yeah.
before I was able to, well, I had to stop working because, there was not a need for me. Things didn't close, but people just didn't go out.
Right.
So I was working at a place that was American 1950s and 1960s themed.
Oh, cool. I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, if you ever come to Gotland, you got to come check it out.
Okay, yeah, I love that era of history. I love like the 50s, anything 50s I really love,
It was such an amazing time that
Yeah, just like, yeah, it's just like,
segregating.
it seems like an innocent sort of, everybody seemed happy. It just seems like it was a great time, I'm sure. I just love all that stuff.
Yeah. I think people really are desperate to return to some happy time, and
Yeah.
it was every time was more complicated than the rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, right. But if we were back in the 50s, maybe we wouldn't think this. It's like I see people now glamorizing the 80s or the 90s, and it's like, well, I was there. It really wasn't quite, you just kind of glamorize things as you get older, you forget, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I just love the 50s. I was talking to my wife yesterday, and I'm looking for a like a jukebox from the 50s. I'd love to have one here in the studio. So it's just that era is really neat.
Totally. Well, hmm. I wish I knew. I want to know what to ask you about the 80s. Like how do I phrase this question? People glamorize the 80s now, and 80s is like the new not the new generation, but it's like, oh, if we could get back there. But what's something
Yeah.
that you want people to know about the 80s, the truth about it?
The truth about the 80s is that there was a lot of drugs, and it wasn't just musicians, it was actors, doctors, politicians, Wall Street. It was like a cocaine bizarre world. It wasn't it was a lot of drugs in the 80s. And it just here anyways in the States, it was just, the drug abuse was really crazy, especially amongst musicians. But the 80s were just kind of an odd time. Musically, it was great for us because the metal thing was happening and all our careers were taking off. A lot of drugs, and that's where all that say no and all the don't do drugs came from. And thank God, because nobody was telling us it was bad for you and unhealthy, and it was just kind of what you did.
Did you lose a lot of people?
In the 80s, not so much. I think now with the drugs, they tamper with it so much, the fentanyl and everything that's in it. I don't really remember very many people. I think more in the 90s when the heroin started making a big comeback is when you started seeing people drop. And not really too many of my friends. I mean, a few like Kevin Dubrow from Quiet Riot or Janie Lane from Warrant. That was, they were abusing drugs, and that was really what their demise was. But now it's the kids, they put that fentanyl and stuff, and it's just dropping people like, left and right.
So like the drugs were purer in the 80s, so they were safer?
They were cleaner, they were much cleaner. Yes, they weren't tampered with. I lost a friend or two, but not like you would think. Not like now. I mean, it's scary how many kids are just dying from overdoses. I have friends who their children, are just, they're losing their children. It's sad. But musically, it was a great time. It just, the whole British invasion of heavy metal came into the States, late 70s, early 80s. And it was a really neat time. But I don't know. I look at pictures and stuff and how we dressed and the hair and everything, and it's horrible. I mean, it's embarrassing. So, it's just, I guess it's like the 60s for some people or the 70s. Some people think, oh, it's so cool. But, they look at pictures and I'm like, oh, it really wasn't, was it? But it was an interesting time. definitely an interesting time.
Oh man, it's so weird to hear this. So many of these things. 'Cause, you know, I was born in the 80s. Not to
Yeah.
make me feel old or anything, but
Wow. Yeah. There's a lot of great things, but there was definitely some, if things like, oh, if I could go back, I would never do drugs, knowing what I know now, but again, it was a lie. It was just what everybody did,
yeah.
it was a big thing here. And it kind of, especially the heavy metal world, it just fueled the whole thing. Record companies, record executives, everybody. And the money, that was another thing too. The money was insane with the labels and touring. It was, the record deals were crazy. There's so much money involved. Up until probably the mid 90s is when it all started changing with the labels, but it was just real decadent, just crazy parties and money everywhere. Just, if you've seen the Motley Crue movie, I don't know if you have or not, but it's pretty close to reality for the time. So
Did anybody like actually keep that money, or did they just like do drugs with it all? Like, is anybody still wealthy from all that money from the 80s?
a few. The thing is that we were also, nobody really paid attention to it. So a lot of bands and a lot of musicians were taken advantage of. And, you would thought they would spend tons of money on us, and the records would be the budgets would be crazy. And, but, and then you realize that you were actually paying for all that. So when record sales came out, it's like, well, where's our money? It's like, well, we spent all this, on these flights, these private jets for you, or this or that. And, I think in the 90s, a lot of the 80s guys were hurting because the music changed, and then it kind of came back. You get the nostalgic thing. So it came back and they're all doing okay again, but it was rough for a lot of guys, it's just, it changed so fast and the money wasn't coming in like it used to. But the 80s, that's what it was. It was just a crazy party, really just a crazy party. So
Wow. My little brain can't hardly wrap its brain around it. But something that, when you were talking about some people having a hard time, that reminded me of something that I'm really passionate about, that if anybody watching this video that's like in your world, in this world, in either was in this world of having a lot of really great stories to tell and still having fans out there that would love to connect with you, but I would love to help people with having a YouTube channel, communicating their stories, building that relationship with those fans.
Right.
Through that, because there's so many mistakes that people make in a YouTube channel. One of them is really bad titles. Like, you can't just make your story epic 1980s. Well, maybe that would be a good title. 1980s epic party stories. That could be a good title. But like Michael Vescera episode 1, it's a bad title. You got to give people a reason to want to connect with it. Like, right. I want to help people with these logistics, and I want to help people connect with their fans, because they want to know, if they've been following you for years and years, they want to hear your stories and they want to connect with you and get to know the real you, not just the rock star version.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I see things on people on stories, everybody's comments and stuff, and they'll be like, oh, they'll say something about someone that they met for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, you met him for 30 seconds. You don't know the person, or and they'll be saying something negative, and it's like, you met him for a few minutes. That's someone I've known for 15 years. They're nothing like that. So it's funny, and it is, people do really want to know the truth about things, and so that's a good thing.
It's a good time. It's never a bad time, but it's a good time to start a YouTube channel and to connect with people.
Yeah. Oh, it's especially after this past year, it's absolutely the best time. Yeah. So I think it kept people connected. It was the one thing that kept people involved and connected with each other is all this. So
while languishing in all these unknowns and fears and
Yeah.
All the stuff. Thank goodness for the internet bringing us together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the internet. It's a great thing and it's a really bad thing. It's kind of,
It's a
it's a,
double-edged sword.
it really is really about the AniMaze X thing. We're real excited to have this, it's doing really well right now. And we're just really happy that things are opening up. We had to give up the whole year of touring. We had a bunch of things lined up and it seems like things are getting back to normal somewhat. So, we're really hoping that all this touring and everything start up again in July. And, we're just really excited to have this project and hoping for success. So we'll see what happens.
So I haven't done this for any of my other conversations because
Okay.
they just didn't seem like, that cool enough to really handle it. But the way that I end my conversations is I first do hugs.
Hugs. Oh, okay. Hugs. Okay.
And the way that usually I leave it at that, but the way that I end my conversation with people that can handle it is I do this. Nostrils of death.
Oh, geez, you don't want to see my nostrils. They're abused from the 80s.
Are they nostrils of death as well?
Oh yeah, they're just. I hate my nostrils. Every time I film a video or something, I'm always like, oh my God, I'll do a different angle. You see my nostrils. I hate them. Totally hate them.
Well, I was called monkey nose and things as a kid. So for some reason, I decided to embrace it on my YouTube channel and just go full in.
That's funny. That's great. Yeah, I hate mine. As you can see, I have an Italian nose, so I haven't been shorted in the nose area.
Hey, there's worse things.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. What did you think of him? What did you think of that song? You should check it out. I will include the links to where you can find his music down below. And I want to say hugs. And just once for posterity's sake, nostrils of death.